He is off the racks over here.
He asked me specifically for Vyvance's when I didn't give it to him. I refused.
Oh, look out. Mikey is hit, and down he goes. Man, and he is not happy at all. That is the second time that Mikie Mahtook has been hit in this game. But this
Never forget it, bro. I had a 7 or 7:30 exam in the morning, so I walk outside.
Real life.
And I'm like walking in my car, and I'm like, damn, I could have sworn I parked over here. I'm like, what? Nah, maybe it's not here. I'm gonna go look around over here, bro. I walked like 3 parking spots, like in the direction I thought I probably parked. I'm like, fuck that! I know I'm parked right here.
Kids still doing that and out there playing for hours instead of just chilling on the video games.
Yeah.
Is also insane.
Chilling on the video games. Did you just age 55,000 years?
Well, we
Is
call
that
them
an
Fortnite
aging
nerds.
Yeah.
You know,
Chilling on the
Fortnite
video
nerds.
games.
I mean, chilling, like playing video games.
that's the
fucking
way to
gaming.
say it, yes?
You think an old man would say chilling on the video game?
That's what you just said, yes.
You think an old man would say chilling?
On the video game?
On the video
Like that,
games?
Well, oh well.
You're an old man.
If you want,
Well,
I'm not a gamer.
You're getting older.
I mean, I guess I am.
Mikey.
Good evening. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. Today's Monday, October 3rd. Excuse the little tardiness. We had a
Nothing happened.
thought we were going to show you a new studio. That is going to be on pause hopefully until Wednesday. We will be in the new studio on Wednesday. We were supposed to be in there or not in there. Had to make a little dressing change.
Audible.
Little dressing change and come back. We got through relationship builders. Good for the team in the long run today. You're watching Mik'd Up. We're brought to you by Sterling Automotive. A lot to talk about outside of the debacle that just occurred, and outside of that's why I probably don't have a voice a little bit right now. Also because I was busy on the golf course this weekend. A lot of searching, a lot of looking for balls. I got dialed in when I needed to dial in for times.
So soul searching.
Hey, coach, 27 holes in a day is a long time. It's a long, long time. And I grinded. We put ourselves in striking distance on day 2. The last match, we're still in striking distance, and ran into the big buzzsaw on the course, and
Literally the buzz?
What hole?
the
what
buzz,
Buzz man?
then the big buzz man.
Oh.
Big buzz man tore our hearts out a little bit too.
hole?
So
On what hole? Where did the dream go to shit?
well, 11. If you don't know about University Club, 11 is a par 5 elevated green, falls off everywhere. Very hard green to hit, to birdie, whatever. My partner comes up clutch, birdies it, 25-footer, drains it, right? Buzzy's got a 20-footer, I'm thinking like, okay, we have to go 6-3 to tie him, right? To go into a playoff. We got to win the first hole, especially on a birdie. Buzzy drains the 20-footer, and he covers the birdie, so we only get half a point. We were tied through like 4 holes, and then big buzzsaw. I was putting for par, which based off of my abilities on the golf course and my handicap, I was putting for 4, but I got a stroke, so I was really putting for net birdie. Big buzzsaw also gets a stroke, putting for birdie, which is a net eagle, further out. He goes first, makes it, crushes my dreams. So then it was just tough. It was tough. Look, it was a fun day. They did really well. My really good friend David Lanois and his partner won the whole thing. He had an albatross on 11. Unbelievable. So they're really good. That's not what we're talking about though. Big football weekend for Louisiana. Saints, not very good. Again, double doink. First of all, Will Lutz, both field goals are probably good for 65 probably.
What, in the dome?
Huh?
You mean in the dome?
The one in London? London. The double doink off the upright and the crossbar broke our hearts. Red Rifle looked pretty good. We're going through the Heineken headlines. We have 16 minutes until Ben McKee, Vols 247 reporter, comes on here. If you have any questions, if you want to talk shit to him, if you want to say whatever you want, put it in the chat. Maybe we'll say it, maybe we won't. But I'm interested and excited to talk to him. LSU is now ranked in the top 25 at number 25. The Vols are ranked in the top 10. It is going to be a good 11 a.m. matchup. Get your Bloody Marys and your mimosas and your breakfast burritos and all of those things that you need ready.
Kolache.
Maybe just don't go to sleep. Adderall it up if you want. If you're a student, go through the whole 24-hour deal. You can crash after the game. That's all that matters. Just getting to the game. Sleep, puke, and rally. See you outside.
It's a good reason to see you Friday.
See you at walk-ons maybe after the game. Way after the game.
See
for
you
the
at
night
Earl's.
games.
See you at Earl's Friday.
Yeah, definitely see you at Earl's on Friday.
Did you see that Ole Miss cat that was trying to make it to the 11 a.m. and just had head buried in hands? And he was just like, I'm
That's
not.
tough.
No, he made it.
He was there, but he just wasn't there.
Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot of people that are there, but not really there.
The old
And then his frat got in a
old red
fight,
tie.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
that's
old
tough.
fraternity brothers.
That's tough. That's tough. Bryce Young goes down. I'm hoping for his sake that it's not super serious, just because you hate to see guys like that go down. They took care of business. They did what they needed to do last weekend. Unfortunately, they lost him. A&M stinks, huh? I think A&M's dead.
A&M sucks.
A&M's dead.
They blew
Mississippi State blew them out. I think that does that make our defense look even better? Because we already know.
Some people don't. Yeah.
Yeah, some people don't think that we should be ranked above Mississippi State because Mississippi State beat Texas A&M. But did we not beat them by double-digit points?
Because they scored a lot at Texas A&M.
Yeah, but
The game here was an outlier, I guess.
yeah, because the only team that was able to contain them was LSU, right? So
Outlier.
I don't
think
know.
that's part of
If you keep
and
winning,
if you don't score the defensive touchdown against Auburn, I guess you're
Outlier
right. You
off
probably
day.
do lose, but isn't that part of the whole game situation?
Got to play the game.
Hey, I don't know if you have got. Listen. I'm not comparing this LSU team and this LSU defense to the 2011 LSU defense. This is not what I'm saying, but it's a reference point because that year our offensive passing game was not very good.
Oof.
We didn't throw for very many yards, but we were beating the crap out of teams because our defense was that elite. Now our
Where were
defense,
they ranked the whole time they were doing
Number
this?
one.
I think they're ranked number one in the country.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Our defense this year is very good. I would not put them in that category just yet because that defense in 2011, all two deep guys on that depth chart were in the NFL, right? So that is yet to be seen. This defense is very, very good. This defense is obviously carrying the team right now, and it's okay because this is a rebuilding year, right? Reprogramming year for the Tigers, right? This is a year where you come in, you change the system, you change the culture. If I'm not mistaken, we had a conversation before the season started, and we were trying to relate to the games of last year, and we said, hey, we won 6 games last year with a complete mess inside the team, right? We didn't feel like we were really well coached. We didn't feel like we had a lot of organization. We said, hey, you bring in a lot of talent, and you bring in a guy who is known to have organization, known to be a good coach. Don't you think that you may be able to, if you're in games and you're hanging around in games, like maybe some of those that went the other way would go the right way for us this year? I think we had that conversation. That is what happened.
Well, it hasn't happened yet.
No, but last game.
No, I'm just saying. Yeah, no. Oh, yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
All I'm saying is, before we even get to talking really about last game, for that not to come true, for us not to be better than the 6 and 7 we were last year, you're basically telling me we're going 2 and 5 the rest of the year.
Right.
It's hard for me to believe.
Right. And my whole point is, if you have one part of your team that you can hang your hat on, and while the other part of the team gets better, that is going to allow you to win games, especially if that part is your defense and the other team, it's hard for them to get in the end zone. And it is hard for those teams that they may start out strong. Now listen to me. We can't keep going down by double digits in the schedule coming up. You go down by double digits in the first half with the teams coming up, it is very hard to come back and win those games, right? We've been fortunate. We've been able to come into some teams that we've been able to do that to. You cannot do that anymore with the schedule moving forward. But the fact that our defense says, okay, you score 17 points in the first half, you're not going to score a point, not 1 point. You're not going to get the ball through the field goal post. You're not going to get the ball in the end zone. You're not going to be hand clapping with your teammates and kicking the ball off to us one time in the second half. If that's the case,
Fight song doesn't get to play.
Doesn't get to play. The cheerleaders don't get to get thrown up because you score a touchdown. You don't get the War Eagle, whatever chant it is. You don't get any of that because you did not score a point in the second half. And that is credit to Matt House. We're going to find out how good Matt House is this weekend. Hendon Hooker is a stud. I don't know why people around the country aren't talking about him because he's putting up outrageous numbers, doesn't turn the ball over, and is extremely, extremely athletic. Josh Heupel has that offense soaring. They are balling. I think you can maybe move the ball now. Our offense has a lot of work to do, and we're going to get into that. I think that's been the topic of conversation around Baton Rouge. I think that's been the topic of conversation around college football. Really, like, hey, man, this defense is really good, but is this offense going to get better and continue to get better and progress to where they can go and beat the top tier teams? We have yet to see it. We thought they were progressing. This past week was not very good. There was, some drops. We had a conversation off air about the drops, me and Jay, about maybe why there's reasons. I don't think it falls completely on the quarterback, and I don't think it falls completely on the receivers. I think it's just a combination of both and not having a nice mesh. NFL slate this weekend was unbelievable. Again, NFL is probably the best entertainment in all of TV, right?
Through 4 weeks, nothing's a given so far.
Dude,
it's unbelievable at this point.
The dog.
Everybody who's not supposed to win is winning.
Zach Wilson's back. Leads them down to a last-minute drive, wins, gets the dub. You have Saints losing on a double doink at 8:30 in the morning, which I was watching on the golf course, which was very good until they double doinked it, and I was not happy about that. You have Aaron Rodgers and them going to overtime against a team that they probably shouldn't have gone to overtime with, but Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick, and he does his things, and he made their life a living hell, and the Packers ended up getting. But you've had the competition, the way the NFL is, and how much parity outside of really Mahomes and the Chiefs look really good. They look like they're getting it back. The Bills are obviously the Bills. Eagles are 4-0, and the Eagles may be the best team in the NFL. As of now, I guess you have to say they are the best team in the NFL. They're the only team in the NFL with no losses. So Jalen Hurts, MVP odds keep getting lower and lower, and he looks pretty good, man. He looks pretty good. LSU baseball, first official scrimmage is this week. Or I guess full team practice started last week.
Well, the official fall practice schedule starts today.
Starts today, right? So they're going to start, our boy Jack is going to be there getting some fire photos and videos and doing things that we aren't very good at. That's why you're here. You're very good on social media. You're very good with the camera. I appreciate it. Nice investment, by the way. That was a very, very nice investment.
Got some sage advice from a very smart man, I believe.
Oh, did you?
From Willie T. Stout, baby.
Yeah,
Wow.
I feel like
if you're gonna get some suggestions, he's the guy that you get a suggestion from. Looking forward to seeing what the camera brings, all the new content and all the new pictures and the videos that we get. Those are the Heineken headlines, man. Like I said, we got a lot to talk about. I think everybody wants to hear about the LSU recap. We want to talk about what we saw. Ben McKee's coming in 8 minutes, so we have about 8 minutes left until we talk LSU Tennessee, and then we get back to LSU Auburn. What did you see this weekend, Jay? We didn't get to watch the game together. I think I would have. I was very pleasantly surprised for the people I watched the game with because I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a
Debbie Downer.
Yeah, but it wasn't. There's a lot of positive people in there, and they were on the same page as me, and I was very excited. Even down 17-0, we're going by 10 points.
Well, the tune
which we should have won by 10 points.
The
really.
tune always starts to change when they see W's go up. So here we go. I literally don't know who you watched it with. So I don't.
Yeah, right. I'm not blaming. I'm just saying,
no. I know.
Everybody gets frustrated. I was getting frustrated.
We knew what the outlook was on this thing from the start. I'm just like, I don't understand how everyone was so down and out of this team, right? I'm on my phone right now looking back just for reference, right? And I'm looking back at that LSU Alabama 2011 game, right? Final score of 9-6 overtime game.
9-6.
You know what the score was at halftime? 3-3. You know how many yards we threw for in that game?
How many?
Just take a guess.
67.
49.
94.
94 yards.
So if you told me that we were going to go to Alabama and beat them with 94 yards passing, even if you knew how good that defense was, we would all sit here and say you're crazy.
Right.
So the reason why I'm saying that is because, and once again, it's just for reference, not for comparison when it comes to team, right? We know that this team's, their strong point through, 5 weeks right now is their defense.
Yep.
I don't think that's questioned, right? Do I think that they can keep getting down 2 and 3 possessions and expect to come back? No, I really don't. But with that being said, I think that when you watch this team play, if they can find ways to stay in games, and I truly don't believe that 17-0 really means you're in the game, right? They found a way to win that game. I don't really think at that point they were in the game.
Right.
If the game's over and you get beat by 17, you got boat raced. You get beat by 3 possessions, you got boat raced, right? So I don't really think that they were in the game at that point. Now, situations happen, tables turn, and then there you go, right? This team can win games, and it's really hard for me to believe that through 7 games left, they'll lose 5 of them, and you'll see the same result as what you got last year.
Agree.
Right? But, yeah, I agree. The offense has to get better, but you're watching a team who's competitive, and they're staying in games. So we've seen them 2 games now, literally 2 big games where they've been not in it in the first half.
Right.
And to come back and win by double digits in one of them, to come back and win in this one, you're like, all right, well, this is a little different. Something's going on, right? Because you shouldn't be in it the way you're in it at the end of the game, the way we're seeing it at some points during the game.
Right. I'm glad you referenced that, because that's kind of what I was trying to reference in the Heineken headlines, is talking about, people are talking about we have to hit a passing game. We do. Like, the game has changed now than it did in 2011. You have to be able to score points because of how dynamic other offenses are.
And I'll just pause that, too, just so people can understand, once again, for reference. Those 94 yards came on a team that had Reuben Randall, that had Russell Shepard, and that had Odell Beckham on the same team.
And Jarvis.
And Jarvis.
On it. Well, Jarvis didn't even have a catch in this game.
No, he's a freshman.
Right.
He just was taking heads off.
You get what I'm saying? Right? So it's like, let's sit here and let's understand, because people kind of forget the ins and outs of the game.
Right.
That's what happened.
And it was a different offense, different head coach, right? But it was a different time period. You can still do that.
And that's why I say, like, do I think we can keep getting down 17? No, dude. Offenses are way too sophisticated and way too advanced today. And so you can't keep doing that today, but we're not going to sit here and say that you can't, that they're going to have to throw for 300 a game to be able to beat some of these teams. I don't think that's the thing.
Listen, I don't know if the issues are because Jaden – listen, the issue early in the season, Jaden was missing reads and he was getting out and running too early, right? You can visibly see him forcing himself to stay in the pocket and try to survey the field. Now, I don't know if he's surveying it the right way. I don't know if he is not understanding pre-snap where he should look first, and then by the time he gets there, it's too late. Or I don't know if it's the offensive coordinator, the way they're scheming things up and not putting guys into a favorable situation to where it makes the routes or makes them get open easier. That's what I want to ask you.
Just saying
maybe a little bit of both.
There's things that stick out to me. I'm glad you said it the way you said it, right? So I can remember watching a game. Not once did I see pre-snap, make the read, ball snap, first read goes to the back, right? But for some reason, Nussmeier comes into the game late in the game, not the first drive or second drive, but the next drive, and his first read was to a back. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, it's really hard for me to believe that Jaden's misunderstanding the offense that bad to where he's not going to the back until pretty much last, and then all of a sudden we bring the backup in, and he's over here doing this. So I personally think, and I don't know, I'm not studying the film, right? I don't know the play call. I'm not studying the film. But I personally think, and this is from seeing it one time, I'm like, it seems to me that we're pushing a certain type of play calling with one in there and trying to get it, to whatever they want it to be. And then they're realizing, like, oh, shit, it's not going to work. Let's go to something else, right? Because I just don't understand how, if we're thinking about, hey, let's make this thing easy for him, let's get easy throws. Well, we never threw the ball to the back the entire time he was in there. And all of a sudden we get Nussmeier in there, and that's his first read on one.
Right. So I don't think it was supposed to be his first read.
Whether it was a hot read or not, it was where his eyes went as soon as he caught the football. You get what I'm saying? So, like, I just don't understand. Whatever. Like I said, I'm not studying the film. I didn't see all that, so I can't really answer that. But stuff like that, I'm like, I'm not exactly sure what's going on.
Yeah. And going in, so I took the over in the game. I didn't hit it, but I took the over in the game because I thought that if Auburn was going to score on us, it was going to be like they did, right? Like, it was going to be a big flash in the pan type play where broken play, the guy gets out, somebody goes to get him, he throws it deep, 55-yard touchdown catch, boom, down 7-0, right? Then you had a couple they gave up more 20-yard plays than I wanted them to. They had some broken coverages, and I think
this is the most broken coverages I've seen.
Yeah, and I think that had a little bit to do because this guy was running around and doing all these different things, right? So I thought that that's how Auburn was going to be able to get in the end zone. I didn't think that they were going to have long, sustained drive. Now, they did have a 99-yard drive that they scored a touchdown on, right? Like, that sucked. But, like, it was just hard for them to be able to do that because it did a lot of gimmicky stuff. So I thought, okay, you score 17 points. I think, okay, LSU has a chance to win the over based off of how Auburn played. They don't have a ton of depth on the front seven. They don't rotate a lot of guys on our defensive line. Like, those guys will get exhausted. We ran the shit out of the ball against them Saturday. Yeah. So thought that over time it was going to go. And once LSU made the comeback and got to 21-17, in the third quarter, I was like, oh, this is it. Like, we're going to win by – it's going to be 34, whatever. Like, we have a shot to really take the game over.
I do, and I'll say this too. I do think as far as for growth offensively, I think those two tackles, the two young kids, this was their
biggest test.
This was their kick the door down. Hey, welcome to the SEC moment.
Yeah.
Because if you watch the right tackle, forget his name.
Emory Jones.
If you watch Emory, he was getting beat a good bit by that end, right? Yep. And it was like, all right, this is a different speed, a different game with these guys. And I think that was a great test, a great little, hey, welcome to it, a great learning experience, a chance of growth for them to be able to get in there and do that.
Yeah. We will continue to talk about this, but the man of the hour, our guest of the day, Ben McKee, is in the waiting room. We are going to take a 30-second break and get him situated, and we'll be right back. You're watching Mik'd Up, brought to you by Sterling Automotive. Today's show is brought to you by Dos Equis. Here in Louisiana, we like to have a great time. If you're looking to be the life of the tailgate, check out Dos Equis mini kegs. Hold 16 beers, easy to tap, easy to pour, easy to chill. Check it out. Become a life of the party.
Yeah, you got me.
Today's show is brought to you by Dos Equis. Here in Louisiana, we like to have a great time. If you're looking to be the life of the tailgate, check out Dos Equis mini kegs. Hold 16 beers, easy to tap, easy to pour, easy to chill. Check it out. Become a life of the party. You're welcome. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. We're brought to you by Sterling Automotive. I'm excited to introduce our next guest. He's the man of the day. Go Vols 247 reporter, noted Yankees fan, Ben McKee. Ben, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. Hope y'all are doing well.
Before we get into the Tennessee LSU talk, Yankees fan, are you? How upset are you right now that they are not throwing balls in the vicinity of Aaron Judge right now so he can break the record?
It's been pretty annoying because I certainly want to see Judge get to 62, and it was looking like maybe he could get to 65, and who knows what he could do after that. But I actually somewhat appreciate it because I would rather him sit there and take his pitches and look for his pitch rather than try to chase and get himself out and get himself into a funk going into the postseason. So the baseball fan, the baseball player in me appreciates that he's being patient and taking his walk.
Yes.
But it is annoying. There's no doubt about it. I want to see him swing the bat.
Stick with what got you there. You got bigger fish to fry in the postseason. Stay locked in. I understand that. Let's get to football. Tennessee Volunteers 4 years ago, were not a team that people talked about, right? They're kind of a team that was kind of a laughing stock. They had a bunch of turmoil going on. Josh Heupel comes in, changes the culture, changes the offense. Hendon Hooker's the quarterback, which I don't know why people aren't talking enough about him around the country as being a Heisman contender. I think he's starting to get that. What have you seen that Josh Heupel has brought into Tennessee over these last 2 or 3 years to turn it around?
Yeah, I think the big thing, and it's the cliche that all coaches like to use, it's that he's changed the culture. The culture was just such a mess after Jeremy Pruitt left, and along with Jeremy Pruitt leaving, a lot of players transferred out, and they weren't scrubs that were transferring out. They were really good football players. Henry To'oTo'o starting middle linebacker for Alabama. Keith Lawrence is starting in the secondary at Oklahoma, and I know Oklahoma's defense isn't all that great, but Tennessee would love to have him in their secondary right now. Wanye Morris is starting offensive tackle at Oklahoma as well. Eric Gray starting running back at Oklahoma. So there's a lot of players that transferred out, and it was just a disaster inside the locker room. And Josh Heupel and his coaching staff have been able to come in and preach that we're about our business, but we're going to have fun in the process. And these players have really taken to that message and really enjoyed that. So he certainly changed the culture, which has been the most important thing to get him to this point, just 16, 17 games into his tenure. This was a team last offseason that people predicted to win 3-4 football games. And not only did they win 6 and go to a bowl game, they almost won an 8 by almost beating Purdue in the Music City Bowl. And then this year, obviously 4-0 going into October. And it's set up for quite the October with LSU this weekend. Bama comes to town next weekend, and then Kentucky at the end of the month. And I don't think that it'll actually happen, but theoretically, if things go Tennessee's way this month, I mean, they're going to be playing to make it into the college football playoff and get to Atlanta. So the culture is the number one thing, and then the development has been through the roof, the player development. Just looking at the difference in Hendon Hooker from when he got to Tennessee to where he is now, the receivers, the offensive linemen. The secondary is an issue. I'm sure you all are well aware, just kind of scouting Tennessee. But aside from the secondary, what Rodney Garner, the D-line coach, has been able to do with his defensive linemen has been incredible as well. So I'd say the culture and the player development is why he's been able to have more success faster than people anticipated.
Well, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but we haven't thrown for very many yards last game, so I think that's going to be which one's going to break first, I think. But, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that definitely noticeable, but you can tell that the talent is they're bought in. It's what it feels like. Jay, you had a question?
Yeah, Ben, I mean, Mikie spoke about him. You spoke about him. You heard a little buzz about him before the season if you actually paid attention to it. Can you talk a little bit about the rise of Hendon Hooker and how he is where he is and the outlook on, I guess, him in those parts of the world and how things look over there for him?
Yeah, right now Tennessee fans love him, and you're right. He has not been talked about enough. My personal opinion is that he hasn't been talked about enough because he's not a sexy prospect like a Will Levis. He doesn't have the incredible arm strength, or he's not running around like Kyler Murray. He's just really efficient. That is, and to me, that is sexy. When you have 42 touchdowns or 47 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. That's sexy to me. I don't know about y'all, but that's what I want my quarterback to the level I want my quarterback playing at through a year and a half. And that's why he's gotten to where he is now. He hasn't necessarily shown just otherworldly arm strength or been the fastest guy on the football field. He does those things. It's just that he's made great decision after great decision after great decision. And it's hard to lose football games when you don't turn the football over. And he's been able to master that. But also now you're starting to see kind of the athlete that he really is. Last week against Florida, or 2 weeks ago against Florida, he had some pretty incredible runs where Florida had him locked up in the backfield, and he was able to break a tackle or two and scramble down the field for 40 yards. So it's not just a game manager. I know that's a cliche that fans like to use when a quarterback doesn't have a unreal trait to their name, but he manages the game really well, and he flashes athleticism quite often. And then also I think the leadership aspect as well. His teammates absolutely adore him and would follow him into the abyss, and he has a very quiet confidence. He's not a rah-rah guy, but he goes about his business very quietly, definitely a lead by example type of leader. And when something needs to be said, he'll step up and say it, and his players, or his teammates, I should say, really respond to that. But that's been the biggest difference, just taking care of the football. Not that he didn't do it before, but he's really found a nice balance of being aggressive and taking shots down the field, but also being careful and taking care of the football. So that's been the biggest thing. And then as he's gotten comfortable in this up-tempo offense, he's been able to branch out a little more and make some spectacular plays.
Yeah, I mean, every time I've watched him play, right, I look at him like, damn, this guy is athletic. He can move. He can get out of the pocket. He doesn't. He'd rather throw the football than run the football, right? Like that is one. That's a good thing to have as a quarterback. And two, not having the turnovers and not forcing balls on the run is another thing that you don't normally see with a guy who kind of does that, right? Usually when a guy runs around, uses athleticism. He just kind of slings it up, a la Johnny Manziel. Not everybody's as lucky as Johnny Manziel and getting tip balls for touchdowns, but that's normally what you see when you get out of the pocket. You don't really see that with him, right? He's been there for a couple years. He understands the offense. I know you're a Tennessee guy. I know we're LSU guys over here. From watching the game from your point of view, right? Now, you've watched a lot closer than we have. What is the key to stopping or slowing down Hendon Hooker coming into the weekend?
Yeah, to me, it's affecting those around him. LSU, to me, their defensive front is going to have to win its matchup with Tennessee's offensive line. And Tennessee's offensive line, I would say that they're good. They're not going to maul you. They're just really consistent, solid SEC football players. And I know LSU on that side of the ball has quite a bit of talent. I would say LSU's front seven has more talent than maybe Tennessee's offensive front does. But they play really cohesive, and they played a lot of football together. And again, they're just really solid football players. But if you're able to penetrate on the interior of that line, or obviously win on the edge with Ojulari or all the other freaks that LSU has on defense, then that's when Hooker and the offense as a whole gets out of rhythm. And Cedric Tillman, we'll see if he's able to go this weekend. I think there's certainly a chance, but we'll see how he's feeling as the week progresses. But even if he can't play, they still have other guys that can make plays and help Tennessee win this football game. When you look at Jalen Hyatt and Brew McCoy, Ramel Keaton, the guy who came in as a 4-star a couple years ago and was kind of forgotten about, to be honest with you. He stepped up these last couple of games as a senior and has started to make some plays and really filled in well for Cedric against Florida. So he has playmakers. They used to tight ends a good bit as well. But it's when and this is any football game, right? When you win in the line of scrimmage, win in the trenches, it disrupts everything else. So, and I would also say everybody looks at this offense and thinks it's an air raid, kind of like Mike Leach, and it's all about passing. But Josh Heupel has been adamant since the day he took this job that it's all about running the football first. They want to establish the run. That way the opposing defense commits more guys into the box, and then you have less guys out on the perimeter because their splits are so wide. Then you can get it out to Cedric Tillman or Jalen Hyatt and the playmakers, and there's just simple math. There's not enough guys out there to stop it or slow it down. So you got to stop the run and win in the trenches to slow down this offense.
You talked about the secondary being the weak link in the defensive side of the ball for the Vols. Cornerback Warren Burrell's out for the year. You already talked about them being weakness. How big of a blow is that to the defense? And, how do you think that they adjust to that?
Yeah, it is. It's a cluster right now, I would say. It is by far the weakness on this football team. And Warren Burrell, he's been a very inconsistent player. He certainly wasn't going to be an all-SEC player at the end of the year. But he was one of Tennessee's best options, and he was a veteran, a senior, somebody that the coaches he may not make the play physically, but he wasn't going to bust and have a coverage bust mentally. If he's struggling, it's going to be physically more so than mentally. And veteran coaches, they love that. Especially when you don't really have any other options. That's Tennessee's biggest problem. Is when you look at Tennessee's secondary. This is when you remember that Josh Heupel is just in his second year and at the beginning of his second year, and just how much of a hit firing Jeremy Pruitt was because of how big of a disaster it was. And it's really the only thing that's going to fix the secondary, in my opinion, is just by recruiting. And they currently have 6 defensive backs committed, 3 corners, 3 safeties. I'm sure they'll hit the portal hard. So that tells you all you need to know about what the coaching staff thinks about the secondary. So Warren Burrell, maybe not the best player on the planet, but he was really one of the few options that Tennessee had. So it hurts from a depth standpoint. Now, it will be interesting to see. This week they signed a JUCO corner, D. Williams, but he has not been able to play because he's been banged up. So Josh Heupel said today that he thinks that he'll be available. So we'll see if that can be kind of a trade deadline acquisition of sorts. He's going to get thrown into the fire, and he'll either sink or he'll swim. So that's kind of a big question mark. But man, it would be a big help if he can have an impact. The safeties struggle a good bit. I like Kamal Haddon, the other corner, number 5, Tamarion McDonald, number 12 in the slot, the star. I like those 2 DBs, but the rest of the secondary is really shaky right now, and I don't know that there's an in-season fix unless D. Williams, coming off of injury, just plays spectacular football, which is unexpected at this point.
What are the expectations around Knoxville right now? It seems like Tennessee fans are. I don't want to say it feels like you're back, because it's been a minute, but it feels like there's a good bit of optimism around the program and going into an LSU game where normally it would be the shoe is on the other foot, but it feels like y'all are the ones that have a little bit more momentum than LSU does. Is that the feeling around Knoxville?
Yes, I think that's fair. And nobody's really saying that Tennessee is back, because Tennessee fans know that Tennessee's not back until they're in Atlanta and truly competing for SEC championships, which technically they are. Winning this game would go a long ways to potentially getting to Atlanta. I said earlier, I don't expect Tennessee to end up in the SEC championship game, but winning games like this on Saturday certainly puts you in a position to be playing games in November, to where if the ball goes your way, then you will be playing in Atlanta. And that's when people will be saying legitimately that Tennessee is back. There isn't any Texas is back type of stuff going on over
I mean,
Knoxville.
Texas never back.
Correct. Right. You don't win a week 2 game and then all of a sudden you're back. And beating Florida was huge, just because Florida has had Tennessee's number. Yeah. But I do think the smart Tennessee football fan, they also recognize that Florida isn't Florida at its best, but still a huge win for the program. And I think there's a little bit of that same feeling with LSU. There's a reason Brian Kelly is in his first year. Yep. Tennessee looks to be maybe a little bit better on paper, which is how a lot of Tennessee fans felt going into the Florida game. And they feel like this is a game that Tennessee should win. So the expectation isn't necessarily to go beat Alabama or go beat Georgia this year, just given what Josh Heupel had to take over 16, 17 months ago. But there is a sense of real confidence, and I would say it's fair to expect Tennessee to win this game, because on paper Tennessee does appear to be the better football team.
Yeah, that was my next question. I'm glad you segued me. I appreciate that. What is the message? I know it's only Monday. I know the game's at 11 o'clock on Saturday. So if you're going, I hope you have some mimosas and Bloody Marys on deck, because it's going to be an early one. But what is the message that Josh Heupel's given to his team coming into a situation like Saturday? They come to Tiger Stadium, which is notoriously a place that is hard to play. Even 11 a.m. game, and LSU just got put back in the top 25. They came off a win on the road. Wasn't pretty, but they won it. Tennessee's in a position, ranked nationally, starting to get some hype nationally. They haven't been in a long time. What is the message that Josh Heupel is giving his guys? Like I said, I know it's early in the week. What have you heard, and what's the vibe around the locker room?
Yeah, a confidence. I mean, you two are former high-profile athletes and understand that you never go into a game thinking that you're going to lose. You always expect to win every game. So there's quite a bit of confidence in the locker room, and it's been the same message. Josh Heupel is really consistent. He's not Mike Leach or Jimbo and Shane Beamer, where on some weeks there's more highlights from the press conference than there are the football games. Right. Josh Heupel is very vanilla and doesn't really give the media a whole lot. And his message is the same as it was Florida week. You have a big opportunity on Saturday. Let's prepare like it all week and try and go take advantage of it by putting our best foot forward and playing our best football. So if Tennessee loses on Saturday, it'll be because they didn't execute. They didn't make plays. The secondary had another rough day. Hendon Hooker and the offense wasn't able to get going. That'll be why Tennessee loses. I would be very surprised if Tennessee lost because of Death Valley and the environment and so on and so forth. And that's not LSU and Death Valley not being intimidating. I completely agree with what you said. Even in an 11 a.m. game in Baton Rouge is a significant atmosphere. My point in saying that is I just watched this same team Florida week deal with College game day being in town. They checkered Neyland, a huge sellout. The fans are telling you that even though that there's this long history of Florida beating you, you should still beat them this year because you're the better team on paper. and they handled it flawlessly.
Yeah,
Absolutely flawlessly. They weren't distracted or anything like that, and it stems from the leadership of the coaching staff and Hendon Hooker. So I would be very surprised if the peripheral stuff interfered with Tennessee on Saturday. If they lose, it's going to be because they played poor football, and exactly that.
and that's what you kind of mentioned some of the reasons of why they would lose. What's the biggest problem LSU is going to pose for Tennessee this weekend, right? Like, what's something that, like, oh man, this is the one thing, like, if LSU does this, I'm really worried that that's going to make the game a little different than we expect.
Yeah, I would say Jaden Daniels and his legs. I would say that would be, if I'm Tim Banks, Tennessee's defensive coordinator, that's what's keeping me up at night. Anthony Richardson didn't run around as much as I thought he would. But again, I know you all made the comment earlier, and I'm sure you all have been talking about it plenty. 85 passing yards against an average Auburn team at best isn't necessarily something you want to brag about. But Anthony Richardson looked awful the previous 2 weeks before playing Tennessee as a passer, and he comes in and throws for nearly 500 yards. And all three of us could make the passes that were wide open for him. There's going to be opportunities for plays to be made through the passing game. LSU still has a ton of talent at receiver, and I know they have some talented tight ends as well. So Jaden Daniels, I think if Tennessee can slow down Jaden Daniels, both his legs and his arm, even if it wasn't a super impressive performance against Auburn, that's what will keep Tennessee fans up at night, just because the second and third level of the Tennessee defense just isn't that great. And it gets worse as you go through the defense. The front seven has played pretty good, and the linebackers in coverage are very concerning, but they're pretty good against the run. So that's why I mixed the second level in there with the third level. But Daniel's ability to get out and run around, we saw Matt Corral just absolutely carve up Tennessee last year. And really any dual threat quarterback the last couple of years has really carved up Tennessee because they don't have the guys or the talent to slow them down. So the defensive front for Tennessee is going to have to win against LSU's offensive line. And if they allow Jaden Daniels to get out and run around, and if receivers are running as open as Florida's were, then it's going to be an absolute shootout on Saturday.
Being that,
I was like, okay.
So, being that, I mean, you could damn near say this for every week of the season that, when the week is approaching, but being that this is probably their biggest game of the season to date, being that humans, especially athletes, are creatures of habit, how worried do you think the coaching staff is about this being a road game, time change, 11 a.m. game? That the guys will be up to doing what they're supposed to be doing?
I don't think that they're worried about it at all, to be honest with you. And again, like I said a moment ago, that has nothing to do with LSU. It's that I asked Josh Heupel today in his press conference if he liked the 11 a.m. kick, aside from it being 11 a.m. in Baton Rouge. I know LSU fans are not too happy about that, but he said that if you ask college football coaches all across the country, they want to play at 11 or 12 as soon as you can, just to go ahead and get to work. And even Jerome Carvin, one of Tennessee's offensive linemen, he said the same thing. He said as soon as he wakes up, he wants to go play football on game day. He doesn't like sitting around and waiting all day in the hotel. So I think the players enjoy it being early on the road because you don't want to sit in the hotel all day, and the coaches do as well. But also, I think the fact that Tennessee practices early in the morning, I think that's going to help them in terms of adjusting to the 11 a.m. start. They're not practicing at 6 a.m., but 8 a.m., 9 a.m., they're on the practice field every day. So they're used to getting to work in the morning. So I'd be surprised if that ends up being a factor.
Let's not sleep on if you win the game, you get to get home earlier and you get to celebrate a little bit.
That they will do.
Yeah, that's hopefully it's the other way. Hopefully it's it's a tough plane ride. Ben, I appreciate you coming on, man. Do you any of the boys have any other questions? Lloyd, we're good. Are you coming in for the weekend? You coming for the game?
I am not. I'm sitting this one out. So
all right.
I see where your confidence level lies.
Yeah, that's one way to to look at it, but I'll be honest, I didn't want to sit 18 hours in a car, and plane tickets are through the roof. And
Yeah.
I also cover Tennessee baseball, and they have a scrimmage at 1:00 against Wake Forest on Sunday. So I didn't want to have to that wasn't the deciding factor, but I didn't want to have to rush 9 hours, 10 hours back to get
Yeah,
to
you're
that.
saying
So
y'all are just saying you're a baseball school.
Big April series this spring.
I'll be there.
I'll be there too. I'll be there too.
I'm not missing that one. So I am bummed out that I'm missing the trip to LSU. But I've been traveling a ton here late. Went up to Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago when Tennessee played Pitt, and baseball.
Yeah.
The baseball team wore me out back in the spring. So I'm bummed out, but we've got 4 other guys, and they've got it covered at GoVols 247. So I'll be watching this one from the television.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. We'll have you back on in April next year whenever you're coming in town for the baseball
we'll have
game.
one for baseball, absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll talk shop
maybe
for sure.
Maybe a little bet on the line.
Yeah. Oh, actually, that's my next question. So Tennessee opened as a 4-point favorite.
4 point, I think, yeah.
4-point favorite. Now, I thought maybe it was going to be more than that. I'm not saying you're a bettor. We are a betting show, hence the Caesar Sportsbook above us. Do you like that number? You think that's a little low? You think that's a little high? You think that's just right? What do you think?
I think it's just right.
Okay.
I think it's just right. I don't know if I would take the points or not. I have a quirky way of thinking.
Oh, so you are better.
2 points, 3
okay.
points.
Okay, so you are better.
Yes.
So you are snitching on yourself. Okay,
yes, I am.
All right. I didn't want to.
Yes,
I didn't want to throw you out there. I
snitching on
didn't know.
No, you're good. No, I get in on the fun as
All right.
well. But my thinking is like, what's the point of being my thinking is like if Tennessee were 2-point favorites, what's the likelihood of them winning by 8 points? So to me, it's almost like a pick'em of sorts.
Right.
And I think to put it in percentages, I would lean like Tennessee 55% to 45% in terms of Tennessee winning. So I think it'll be a close game that comes down to the wire. And I think Hendon Hooker will be the difference on the road. So I think Vols win close, real close because of him. So I think the point spread was just right, and it's come down to 3. So 4 point win, I think is where it'll be.
Yeah, I respect your opinion. I respectfully think it's going to go the other way, obviously.
LSU money line.
But we'll talk. Yeah, we'll talk again soon,
us your
man.
bets today.
I appreciate you coming on. I'm not going to take too much of your time, dude, and you're great. So I'll see you in the spring.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all having me on, and hope y'all enjoy the game on
All
Saturday.
right, man. Appreciate you too.
Oh, my bad.
I like the confidence that they got coming in.
They got a lot of confidence. I mean, they should.
Ben
They're
McKee,
playing well.
Ben McKee from GoVols 247. Nice enough to join us today, and nice enough to basically commit to the April Tennessee LSU baseball Tennessee series. So that'll be fun. He'll be here.
What do you think they have more confidence in? It seems like he would rather cover baseball.
I think he was a baseball. I think he played baseball. Maybe not, but.
I mean, they've won 50 games the last 2 years. There's enough reason to have confidence in the baseball side.
So I'm glad we got through that. We got the Tennessee talk, and we're gonna recap the Auburn stuff too. But here's my take on this weekend, and he kind of mentioned it, right? Our weakest point so far to date has been getting the balls to the receivers consistently.
Yeah, it's been special teams,
right? Well, yeah, I mean, special teams. Luckily, we haven't had any other issues with special teams the last couple of weeks. Thankfully, let's knock on wood wherever the wood is. I knew you were going to do that, but outside of the special teams, it's been okay. We have extremely talented receivers. How do we get the receivers the ball in space and let them do their things? Right? How does Jaden Daniels read the defense better? How does he make quicker reads? Those things have yet to be figured out, right? Now it's a work in progress. We've talked about that. But their secondary, and I said this a couple weeks ago after I watched them play Florida, and I was like, I think that they are – you can score on them, right? Like I think you have the ability to move the football on their defense. I don't know how deep. I don't think that they're as deep as they should be, and that he basically said that same thing. Ben said that defensively, we're not as deep. We don't have the guys in the second and third levels. And to me, like, that opens the door for an opportunity to go out there and put up some points, right? Like if
I would love to see them be able to come out. And I know everyone says this, like, oh, let's get a couple easy throws, get the quarterback in rhythm. Well, what does easy throws mean? For me, I would love to see them come out and be able to get a bunch of easy rhythmic throws, meaning guys still moving but that are not far throws down the field. Give me some slants. Give me some crossing routes. Give me some flats out of the backfield. Give me some stuff where guys are moving in short spaces to where you can get stuff and guys can keep running and keep moving.
And when you do that, you're relying on the talent of your wide receivers to get open, right? Like you're saying, hey, okay, I'm going to make these reads shorter and easier, but you have to get open because by doing that and you're there's going to be a lot more traffic, right? Tip balls, pick balls.
The thing is, too, about routes
shorter,
like that,
tighter windows.
The thing about routes like that, like say if we were running, I don't know, all hitches or some shit like that, right? Like, well, if I'm running all hitches and they're in cover 2 and they're showing cover 2, it's not hitch anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't run those. So you're asking to do a lot of thinking in those. Whereas if it's slant routes, we just know which ones we can or can't go to. If it's drag routes, if it's crossing routes, they're going to have to keep running. Now you're going to figure out if you're sitting against zone or if against man.
Right.
If there's man, you can figure out if it's man. We can help you do that pre-snap stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like stuff like that, I feel like that would be huge for them because now you're kind of taking the thinking out of it a little bit for the receivers because there has been some drops. You're kind of taking the thinking out of it so much for the quarterback, right? And you allow them to just kind of let me put it on you, you go. I'm gonna put it on you, you go.
I want you to explain this because you're a wide receiver at LSU, extremely talented wide receiver. You've played with some extremely talented wide receivers. You've played with some guys who have gone through a little bit of some issues with drops. You've played with guys who have fixed it and been a baller, right? Dwayne Bowe, drops, got his eyes fixed, first-round draft pick. Brandon LaFell one year had some games where he had some drops maybe he should have caught. All SEC wide receiver, right? It just happens, part of the game sometimes. We were talking about, I was like, man, they had 9 recorded drops, and I put these in quotations because I don't think all 9 should have been considered drops. There's a couple of balls that maybe more than a couple that were off target. A lot were off target. But I would say probably 3, 4, maybe 5 of those balls should be caught, right? I know it's a little harder because they're off target, but then you said, well, here's why I think they were dropped. And I want you to explain that.
So for me, when I sit there and I watch that many balls being dropped, I start to wonder where the guy's eyes are and feels are as they're coming out of these cuts. And that's whether they're running an in route, whether they're running a curl route, whether they're running a hitch. And the reason why I say that is because I can take it back to when I played, right? You had Matt Flynn who threw an unbelievable ball. You had Jamarcus who had an unbelievable arm, threw a very pretty ball. Broke
a lot of fingers.
You definitely got mine. Dislocated one of mine. And then you had Ryan Perrilloux. Now, make no mistake about it. He threw a very, very tight spiral. But Ryan had one speed, and he was throwing absolute rockets at you. Here's what's crazy about it, though. If he's throwing these rockets at you and they're not on the money,
it's hard to catch.
You're asking me, when I'm coming out of these routes full speed and people are trying to tackle me and I don't know where this ball's going, it's hard for me to catch stuff that's not – it's much like take it this way. If you and I are throwing baseball right now, right, and we're throwing and we're 60 feet apart and we're throwing balls hard, right, if you don't know where it's going, it's going to be really hard for you to catch balls and catch it clean and be confident and just stand there and catch, as opposed to if I'm just grooving that thing, right? And then – that's
now imagine turning around having to catch it on the move.
So when you go back to the game and you look at the 9 drops, I'm wondering if a lot of these drops are happening because they're coming out of these cuts and they don't know where the ball's going to be.
Right.
And so now it's here one time, and next time it's here, and there's no real rhyme or reason.
Right.
So in their mind, they're like, well, shit, I don't know if I'm about to get hammered right here just trying to go get this ball because it's not where I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And then you get the alligator arm, and that's kind of how the thing goes. So it looks, that becomes a big thing, and I'm wondering if that's something that's kind of going on.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with you because I understand like the analogies, and I understand not knowing how the ball is going to come out, where it's going to be. Right now, the only reason I said 3.
Well, no, and I'll just say this: like, let's make no mistake about this thing. Like, let's tell the truth about it. You ever watched Pro Bowl skills challenge and you watch the quarterbacks throw? You ever see him miss the short throws? Never. They're always right in the hole, right in this. And look, we're talking about pro quarterbacks. I get it. We're talking about this. We're not talking about go balls. We're not talking about go balls where you come out of the route and it's run under it and go make the play. We're talking about short throws within 10 to 12 yards where it's like, I need these to be in this area. Yeah. It can't always be here, there, and you want me to go get it. Look, I get it. Yeah, you're supposed to make the catches, right? And as a receiver, you don't feel good if you don't make the catch.
Right.
But there is some of that of coming out of breaks, and if you don't know where balls is, it's hard to make the play.
That illustrated how good Jack Besh was. Like it's good because a lot of those throws that Jaden Daniels is making aren't necessarily on target, like you're saying, but his ability to be able to kind of adjust on the fly and be able to grab you a 3rd and 4, a 3rd and 6, like that's what made him.
Which is why we talked about that last week a little bit. Like, hey, these balls are outside the body, but he was snagging them, right? Like that's a tough thing to do.
And it just feels like LSU is so out of rhythm when it comes to like. I don't want to say they're trying to force the ball to people, but the wide receivers, like, how can you blame them, especially you, Jay Mitch? Like, how can you not be a little checked out whenever you go? Hold on.
8 of 20 for 84 yards.
8 of 20 for 80 yards.
No, and look, I understand that. I understand the checked out part, but like,
and before you even get to this, like I mentioned Tim Tebow. Go back and look at the tape, bro. He threw some absolute ducks. You know who else threw ducks? That's in the Hall of Fame right now. Peyton Manning.
Yeah, he did.
But guess what? When you put it on the cash every time,
it don't matter.
I can grab it.
And it's a catchable ball. But here's the only reason I bring up drops. And I'm not saying drops happen. I am saying drops do happen. It's part of the game. The 9 drops were probably a little bit of an aggressive number. I said that there's probably 3 or 4 that I had some issue with, right? A little short out route, Kayshawn dropped, right? Those are the one 3rd and 12. You catch that, it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, or 3rd and whatever, 3rd and 7, 3rd medium.
I'll give you my take on that.
Right?
I agree with that.
Right, that one, right? You have the one to Brian Thomas when he's sitting on the sideline, right? Like, the balls that I am talking about are the ones that aren't necessarily, hey, I'm out of the break and boom, here's a fastball. It's the ones where hey, I'm out of the break and I'm already looking at you and have time to adjust.
Which would have taken that 9 down to 5?
5 or 6, yeah.
At the end of the day, let's be honest. If you're having 6 drops a game, that's still a lot.
Still a lot,
right?
Right, but the 6 drops, I would, the 6 drops that I'm saying that were left on the table had something to do with a little bit of the quarterback being away, and then the receivers not having complete trust that the ball is where it needs to be, right?
Now,
so
I'll say this about the Kayshawn situation.
Also, I want to apologize to everybody. I am leaving a little early on Monday. There's only, I think, 2 more Mondays left of that.
Can y'all win the whole fucking thing if we're gonna do this? Can we go win the flag football championship?
Yeah, we're getting to the playoffs.
Everybody gets in.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. We're going to go. The playoffs are a 2-day thing.
I think it might be Mikey time. It might be Mikey
to
call his own number.
Today's a big game.
We spoke about this.
We did speak up. Today's a big game, though. David Lanewell's team.
Make the adjustment.
David Lanewell's team. It's a big game today.
Well, after he's coming off a little title.
He told me, he said, I'm hydrated.
But he's coming off a high from the weekend.
He told me he wasn't going to play, and then I was like, all right, don't play.
Good.
And then he texted me, he said,
I'm back.
I think I'm playing. I was like, I'm going to be out there. I'm just letting you know, I'm going to be out there. So.
But we've had some talks about the flag football team. Not throwing anybody under the bus, but it might be Mikey. You're
no. I'm just
going third overall pick for a reason. It might be time to put the team on your shoulders.
We'll see. It's going to be good. We're going to be good. We're going to have
a dub.
Yeah, we're going to have guys. Anyway, that's
what I'm trying to get you to play.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's not happening.
We wouldn't be able to be on the same team.
Wait, so listen. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking and I'm watching the Kayshawn. I say situation, dude. Look.
It is a situation.
But I'm about to say, look, first off, I'm not in the building, so I don't want to sensationalize this thing because I don't know what's going on, right?
They're not.
It feels weird. It feels weird that everyone knows. Well, not that everyone knows he's like one of your most talented players, right? So for me, the drop that he had was a bad drop. Yes, it was 100%. Yes, he should have caught it 100%. But I do think there's something to being said that when you are coaching and are dealing with people and players, right, you have to understand as much as you want to say, oh, this is this way, you got to do it that way, make sure it's that, or it's there, you got to make sure. I agree with that. But you also have to realize you're not dealing with robots. You're dealing with humans. So when you take a kid who you're telling, hey, you're our best player, and his first or second target in the game comes midway through the third,
what do you expect?
It's hard for me to not understand that he wouldn't be checked out.
Right.
At that point.
No, I get it.
Yeah. So
and it's easy to say, oh, well, you got to be professional.
And I get it. That's
your kids.
That's just low hanging fruit.
But even it's not even just kids, dude. We take professionals, man. Go turn on the TV and watch professionals cry and act like babies when they don't get the ball. Like, it's a thing. Yeah. It's a real thing. Watch professionals cry and act like babies when they're not getting things to go their way. It's a real thing.
I agree. I 100,000,000% agree with you, right? Because I've been in the position where, for one reason or another, right, and it's because towards the end of your career in baseball, when you get older, like
once they throw a label on you,
yeah, you're no longer the prospect you're not supposed to go, right? Well, I'm on a 10-game hitting streak last year, and I'm hitting in that 10 games, I've had 3 or 4 homers, and I don't play for 4 days because we have rehab guys, we have some young prospects that need to get in, and I'm like, hey, dude, what the fuck? Like, how am I supposed to get out of here if you're not going to put me on the whatever, right? He's like, you just got to stay patient. We just had a lot of
taking
rehab
you for
guys.
granted almost.
Right? Yeah, so I'm sitting there, and, like, I'm bitching out. Like, I'm checked out. I'm sitting in there like, fuck. Like, and all I'm thinking is, like, I just get my swing right. Keep feeling good. But I'm not checked all the way in, right? I'm not being a bad teammate. Like, I'm still, like, you know, high fives. Like, it's not their fault. Yeah. I just know that I should be playing, right? Well, then guy gets hurt in the game, the rehab guy is only playing 5 innings. I have to go in, right? And I'm like, this is fucked. First ball, line drive to right center, double. Next ball, home run over the hitter's eye. So I'm not saying that, even though you're checked out, like, what I'm saying is if they're not giving you the rock and you're only going to get the rock 2 times, fucking do something with it when you get it. So force them to give it to you. Now, it's easier said than done. But
baseball,
like, that was
they have to throw it to you.
And here's the thing, too.
But it's hard. I mean,
listen, mentally.
I'm just talking about the mental.
Mentally, yes, that's 100% how you get over it. Truthfully, that is not how everyone's wired.
I agree,
and that's just how it is. So it's like, yes, we can sit here and say catch it. Yeah, you should. Your ball hit your hands, catch the fucking ball. Yes, that's easily what we can say. But if you want to get the best out of who you're asking this stuff out of, understand who he is and how he deals with stuff. And it doesn't seem to me like that situation is being handled correctly. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, Jack Besh had 7.
I think if you told Jack Besh everything you've probably told Kayshawn, and you've given him everything you've probably given Kayshawn, and you treated it, situations have gone this way so far, I think you might get a different response out of Jack Besh.
You think they're wired differently?
I think they're wired differently. Yeah. It's not to say one's better. I think they're wired differently.
Jack Besh said, "Put me a punt return."
Yeah, I'm saying that.
What's stopping Kayshawn from doing that?
Like I'm saying
maybe
that,
they are. Who knows? I don't know.
Kayshawn's really good. Jack's really good. They're different players, right? They're completely different wide receivers, but they're both very good, right? Mm-hmm. Kayshawn didn't get the ball. He got 1 catch. Jack got the ball. He got 1 catch. They weren't on the. There's times where Kayshawn was off the field in 3 receiver sets, and I'm like,
that was gonna hurt.
I'm confused. But I mean, that's. Whatever.
But that's what I'm saying. He's on the sideline.
Wait, and not just that. Not almost that he just got hurt. That's another thing too that adds to that you really don't realize, or if you're not like really looking at this stuff. When was it that he almost got hurt? Do you remember?
Second quarter.
Coming out of the half.
Yeah.
First drive.
Yeah,
first play.
On the field.
He's not on the field.
Right.
We're at LSU, and there's a tradition of there's a tradition of wearing number 7, and he's a preseason All-American. And we're in a 3-receiver set. First drive, first play out of the half, and he's not on the field. If you know anything about him and he's in your building every day, I don't know that much about him, and I could tell he looks kind of checked.
Yeah. I mean that's the thing is like why is it not? Now I hope that there's some answers. I hope that they skew him. I don't know.
I just
Jack's not getting it either, so it's not just one.
And I'm not just saying. I just so to me that's the thing when I say like I think they're coaching it up well. I just don't. There's some of these things that I'm just like.
God, I don't want to cut this short.
Man, do you want the best out of this situation or do you not? Like, we're going to have to do something a little different because I don't think everyone's responding to the way you're doing this situation.
And I don't want it to be misconstrued as Kayshawn being a bad teammate because I don't think he is. I really think he's trying his fucking best to be like, whenever you see people celebrate, he's in there. He's not like
I'm not
all
saying
the
he's
way.
A bad teammate,
no, but it's just like
out.
some of the things that you see are like, oh, right, it's easy to say, oh, he's checked out, but. Bro, we got to get like,
and I'll even be honest.
Like you said, when you get the opportunity, take it.
I'll even be honest. I'll even say this. This is stuff that I started. So I don't know how I saw this and how this is getting to this point. But I don't know if have y'all seen recently that DJ Moore's they're trying to work a trade.
Mm-hmm. No, I did not see that.
Why do you think he wants out? Because Baker's fucking trash.
Baker is not.
Like I've said it.
You're right.
The only reason I'm bringing this up, or
maybe Matt Rule is trash and Matt Rule is.
The only reason I'm bringing this up is because. The only reason I'm saying this is because as I'm watching, and I've only started, like we're 5 games in, I wasn't looking at this when they played Southern. Hell, I wasn't even looking at this when they played Mississippi State. I just started looking at this. But we get to 3rd downs, and it's 3 wide, 4 wide.
He's not in.
Not if he's in. He's not anywhere 1st or 2nd in that progression.
Yeah, right.
Well, and I think that's part of it.
And so for stuff like that, I'm like, damn. Because I remember, and the reason why I'm saying this is because I remember I sat there and watched that Odell video that came out, that his dad put out. And that's the video that got me completely off of Baker. Because there was games where it's 3rd and 4, and he
He didn't even put his head in the direction of Odell. And I'm like, who else were you looking for?
Right.
Why, who else would you hope is open for 4 yards?
Right.
So
David
stuff like
Njoku.
that. Anybody but him. Anybody but him in crucial
And
situations.
so do you think that that's the issue? You think that, or do you think that the coaching staff doesn't scheme him up to where it's like, hey, you know what? We're gonna make you just one position. This is what you're gonna do. These is it the scheme? Is it the receiver? I mean, is it the quarterback?
I think it's the scheme. It's not about one position, but it's like, hey, are we gonna put him in positions to where he's primary?
Look, listen. Why do you think Mike McDaniel and Sean McVay and Andy Reid and all of these offensive-minded geniuses? Why do you think they have success no matter? Because they use motions and they get
use
leverage
motions and
they
put you in spots to be
Exactly.
successful. And I mean
they
that
out-leverage the defense.
I mean that by this too, exactly. Because I mean they put people in positions to get what they want out of the route, right? Meaning that like when Michael Thomas has 140 catches, it's not because they call hike and they just look his way. It's because, hey, we want this dig to be open. So we need this guy in the slot to be fast enough to be good enough to get off of this press, to be fast enough to affect this safety to where he can't get to this hole, to where Michael Thomas is 100% going to be open.
And if they double him, they'll guys.
And if they double him and he stays down and he doesn't move his feet and he doesn't open his hips, well, that guy we're throwing to over the top. That was Ted Ginn for a while.
Yeah.
Or that year, I think. Right? You get like that stuff like that matters, right? And so like, are you scheming it up to where you're putting him in the position to be that guy?
Right.
That's huge.
Because I know, but yeah, but they had people. Like we talked about Denbrock a little bit, and then it's a little bit of an antiquated scheme, but it's worked up to this point, and Jaden's had people run free.
No,
like what?
For sure.
But now it seems like, all right, this is when you get to the next level of football. Like, okay, I'm not getting my best player on the team the football.
And I
how can we get him the football?
I think that's scheme.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It gets to that next.
I say scheme because I think that getting free. Also, like he's had people that's run free, but let's be honest, bro. Our offense has only really looked good, if you will,
against
in second half.
Teams.
Well, either subpar teams or second half of games, right? So what are we doing these first half that has these guys looking so anemic?
Right.
We're 5 in.
Yeah.
We need to figure out that those ain't the ones.
They've tried tempo and that's worked better. The running game has gotten better, right? Now, okay, let's mix in how do we get our passing game going? Because it
has to get going quick.
You have enough talent and too much talent for it not to get going. What are y'all laughing at over there? What are y'all giggling for?
Chat's popping off.
Is it? About what?
Oh, me and Vince about to fight.
Why?
I mean,
he said,
fuck off, bro.
He said, Mikey, take away Lloyd's mic and show numbers would go up.
Yeah, bro, I'm tired of your shit. You say it every show. I'm here, you're
Vince.
not, dog.
Oh, Vince, that's not good for you, buddy.
No. Fuck off.
Appreciate your eyes.
That's a good way. That's a good way.
Screenshot that.
Came at me at the
That's a
wrong
good way.
fucking day, dude.
That's a good.
We're gonna screenshot
that is a clip. That's a clip one. Look, I don't want to end this show early. I don't at all, but I have to. I'm very regret it. We had some technical difficulties. We had some battles. We had some chinks in the armor today.
Hey, locker room day.
We got through it.
But guess what? Tommy Tanks is on Wednesday.
Yeah, Tommy Tanks is coming in on Wednesday. We're going to have a lot more conversation about LSU. We're going to have a lot more conversation about the game coming up. We're going to have a lot more conversation about a lot of different things, right? We have Monday Night Football tonight. We're going to talk about that going on Wednesday. We have some fantasy games that are happening. I'm not going to bring up the fantasy situation that Jay Mitch had to encounter this week.
I'm encountering a first place situation right now.
You're in first place. You are in first place still.
Yeah, we laid an egg.
Yeah, but it's okay.
You knew it.
I got Lamar in the rain.
It's okay. It's okay.
No
Listen.
excuses. We laid an egg.
Hey, listen, great. It was a great show. We got through it.
He called it. He goes, McGee's going to beat me this week, and it's not going to make any sense. I'm still going to be in first.
Yeah, it's okay.
And I'm just going to have to hear it.
It's okay. Hollander got lucky. He's going to beat me. That's weird, but whatever.
Is he really?
I need Cooper Kupp to go off.
Like go off?
Well, I need him to go off, and he has somebody that like he has a Kittle. I need Kittle not to do anything. He hasn't done anything all year.
Who do you like tonight, real quick? How can you not go Rams?
I like the Rams.
I'm going Rams.
The 49ers have their number, but I like the Rams.
I'm going to Rams.
I like the Rams. I need the Rams to do well because I need Cooper Kupp to do well.
But the way this thing is going, I'll be wrong.
Me too. But I got Rams at the last one of a 6-leg parlay.
Ooh. Okay, Rams. I'm on it with you.
I want it for you.
I'm on it. Listen,
You've hit 5 games in the NFL this.
I am scorching fucking hot, Vincent.
good. I'm happy for you. I'm not, but I'm happy that you are. We'll talk about this. I want to hear about the win after you win it. I love everybody. I love y'all.
Sorry we fought.
It's okay. We got
Mom
through
and Dad
it.
got in an argument.
We got through it.
camera
I
for
just
that.
we learn from this. We get better from this, and it's just was better for
Nothing
Just
the
wrong
say
with a
not
little
my fault.
feistiness.
No. We're not gonna get into this
They
because
just
it is.
say not my fault.
It is.
But
It is.
hey, Roger Cater worked this morning.
That's not the issue. That was not the issue.
Oh my God.
It was time management was the issue. That was the question. Okay.
Oh, boy.
But I love you.
I love you.
Thank you all, guys. Thank you everybody for watching. I'm sorry that I have to cut this show short on Mondays. I hate that, but I love you. Please like, subscribe, share it, tell a friend. We're mic'd up. We're brought to you by Sterling Automotive. Catch us on all podcast networks, Spotify, and Apple. Like I said, we'll be back Wednesday at our regular time, 6 to 8 p.m. And this Friday from Uncle Earl's from 4:30 to 6. I am in conversations with Uncle Earl's to have some drink specials and to do something, so we bring y'all in there. Because listen, it's 11 o'clock. Let's drink for 24 straight hours.
Tommy Tanks and booze, baby.
That's
Those
it.
will be good.
You're watching Mic'd Up, brought to you by Sterling Automotive. Thank y'all so much for listening. We'll see you again on Wednesday.
Hey,
Peace.
Mikey.
It was your fault.
I love you.
I love you too.
Hey, Jared. I love you.
I love you.
Hey, Jack. I love you.
Love you too.
All right, love you, boys. Hey, Vincent. Go fuck your
Go
mother.
fuck yourself.
Jesus.